Hello, welcome to Top of the World. Where's my content, you're asking yourself? Well, I'm doing windows, right? You know I'm doing windows. I've been doing windows for ages. Why am I doing windows? I'll show you why I'm doing windows. Because this is what it's like. Rain. Rain and more rain. I know many of you ask, what's the Arctic summer like? What's it like to live in the Arctic in the summer? Christ. The weather's changeable. It's dark. It's wet, and by and large, it's really bloody noisy. And then you walk inside the door, and it's dark. There you go, there's my wood shop. Yeah, but it must be night time, Simon. No, it's not. It's 13:30. Water. Now that's not good. Well, I've never ever seen water come inside. And there's water pouring down my walls. We're inside. I'd never ever seen that before. And we have water pouring inside the building. Now we're on ground floor. We've got a floor below us and 2 floors above us. And we have water. Look at that. That's coming down the door behind the plasterboard. So I wonder what's going on upstairs. Look at that. That's inside the building. There's the back down there. We're in the middle of the building. Well, I don't even want to go upstairs. So we're now inside the basement. And this water here is going down a hole in the floor which I dug. So this is the wall that leaks the worst. There's a huge, it just pours in. Anyway, all that water would be flooding the cellar had I not built this ditch. So let me explain. That's the outer wall. And this is the chickens. And I put this inner wall inside because I punched through the floor, through the concrete floor, to put in a drain, because I can't stop the water coming in. So we're inside the building. It's a bit worrying, isn't it? Definitely a bit worrying. Right, so we're all good in here because there's my wonderful birthday present. You're going to get some water running in there, but that's doing its job. We've got no water coming in here. Floors are dry, smells good. So that was money well spent. Oh, I don't want to shut that door. That was money well spent. We're in part of the cellars now that's completely unrenovated. But we have that ticking away. Right. So if it's pouring in there, then we've got to assume it's coming in the wood room. Right. Sounds like a gun shop. Ah, there you go, look at that. That's actively coming in now. Ah. We need to go and get a mop and bucket then. No, we don't have a duck pond. We do have a slow running drain though. You can see it emptying. You can see a whirlpool here. Yeah, the trouble is that's got an inner gauze on that, so you've got the drain top and then underneath you've got an inner gauze, and that gauze keeps getting blocked up, and I know at the moment that's about 1/2 metre deep. I know in the middle of this video might be a bit of an odd place to apologise for my delay in uploading. And it's been, this is the longest I've ever gone without uploading. I don't know why it distracts me. And there's a reason. Well, actually there's many reasons. It's been raining a lot. Some of the jobs I've been doing are just so boringly repetitive, my mind is shutting down. And I've had to go places and do things that can't be filmed. So yeah, those that are, well, you know, this people live places because they live places, and they don't want cameras. And you don't want to be taking cameras because, you know, you'll be taking a slow walk in a deep river, and that's not good. So I've got to do a bit of sawmilling. So I'll show you that, and I'm working on something. I'm working on something big. I'm working on something really big and potentially very exciting, very different. And I'm working on that in the background, and I'm doing things that I haven't filmed for that. And then I'm going to start doing things. Am I rambling? This just to the live action. Reclaiming. This is reinforcing UV protected plastic sheeting that they've been using for the renovation of the railway bridge, and I'm not allowed to take the heavily coated stuff because that's a hazardous waste, but I am allowed to take stuff that's just got a little bit of overspray and that would normally get disposed of. And they're reinforcing, and it's exceedingly expensive to buy, and it comes with all these like a little elastic pulls, and I've started rolling out and finding it. And they're 4 metres by 50 metres. Some of them are 4 metres by 70 metres. Bit of a result, I thought. Where's the ball? Get the ball. Ball. Hey. Well, this is what I want. I've got to make 6 4x4s out of that, but I'm having a problem. And for those that you know, you can already see what my problem is. This is so wet. So wet. I mean, I've got bluing in this, I'm not bothered about that. Sometimes I think it looks quite nice. But it's so wet. And it's wet because it's just constantly raining. We've had one of those summers where we didn't have a summer. We had 2 weeks of nice weather and then it just rains. Rains continuously, and that's wet. And I need to put a moisture meter in it. So, let's go get the moisture meter. And what's going on here then? Well, it's the time of year. Well, actually it's a little early because it's so wet. I want the dehumidifier to work, where all the wood has to come in and go down the hole. And we'll go and get the moisture meter and I can show you. So nothing much changed there. We're still on old pallet stuff for the summer. This is where things have changed. So you can see I've now used pallets all the way around the wood room for my airflow, which is a huge improvement on anything I've ever done before. And the wood is starting to come down. Now what I have done is I've had to put a piece of ply on the inside of this because the large pieces of wood coming down are starting to punch out the... Anyway, how does this work? Well, you can get an incomplete stillage, as I thought, now down here at once. And then that gets stacked and slowly, as though you've seen videos from last year will know, this whole room will just get filled completely. So that's working really well. Right, that has solved so many problems. How's this doing? Well, you can see the air moisture content in here, 74%, way too high. I emptied that this morning, so that's really working most excellent in there. I'm starting to draw all the wood out. Anyway, that's not what we came for. What we came for was the moisture meter. Not that having the moisture meter is going to change anything upstairs at all. Right? It's not. But it will tell me how wet that wood is. Right then. For those of you who wondered how things are going, because it's been a few weeks, I've got some turkeys. They're not turkeys. They're chickens. So there's all my girls all lined up, right? And then I've got 2 new chicks. These huge things down here, and they're the biggest thing in here, right? And just a few weeks ago, this is a traditional Swedish chicken. A few weeks ago, they were just tiny, and all these other chickens were pecking at them and upsetting them. Now look at the size of them. Big girls, very big girls. Oh look, fresh eggs. Oh, I'm caught up on my moisture meter on the door. So all is well with my girls. So under normal summers, I can have everything outside and generally uncovered, and it dries very well. It does dry very well. I know I've got to have a big covered lean-to. I've got the wood to do it, I've got everything to do it, I'm just lacking time, there's only one of me. This was cut last year. So really and truly, this should be sitting somewhere about 15, 18%. That's what it should be sitting at. So I'll give you a clue what I'm talking about. Joinery ready wood. Can we even see that? Do we even know where we are? Yeah, I know it's upside down. 8%. All right, that's good. That's dry. Wood coming in for wood firing. That should be coming in somewhere about 16, 17%. Let's get a bit down here. %14.6%. That's good. We finish that off downstairs. This should be in the mid-teens. That's not good. That is not good. That's not good at all. That's way, 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 way too high. So, and this is a result, this would have been much drier than this after the winter, beginning of the summer. This is a result of continuous rain, and I try to keep them covered up. And I can't. It's not. %27%. This bit's going to be drier. That's what we're looking for. 12%. I've got one bit. Look at that. Way, way, way too wet. Way too wet. So this is finished stuff going on the wall inside. 10%, perfect. Well, we're going to have to machine this up really wet. You know, I'm going to have to over machine it because it's going to shrink slightly, and then I've got to be very mindful of the cracking. But this has got to go into a building now to support it up as extra supports over the winter in a house. Some bright person has taken out some walls upstairs, and yeah, it's not good on the weight. I've got to do something about it. So that's what these are going to do. They're going to go in and basically replace the wall studs that were removed to keep the roof up, because the roof is sagging and it's starting to splay. Push the walls out, you know, this kind of thing. All right, let's machine that up. A bit of action interspersed with completely irrelevant information unless you've got a small wood shop and you don't know what you're doing. In my lifetime, I've had 3 factory fires. 2 factories I owned and 1 factory I just built and was working at. So let me tell you about the first one. We had an old factory built out of, now I know it as sterling board, but anyway, sheet material. And after a few years of earning money, we had enough money to build a big steel one. And we built log cabins. That's what we did. And there was just two of us, old man and me. And I built this factory. He'd cried off sick, so I built this factory virtually from scratch. First factory I ever built. Did I have any clue what I was doing? Well, I did by the time I'd finished it. Which was fortunate, because that gave me the skills to go on and build more without even any concern. So we had an internal extraction room. This was an extraction room where bagging units for extraction of sawdust and shavings go. And it was made out of sheet wood material. And one day it caught fire. There was fire inside it and smoke was bellowing out. And the old man shouted at me to get to the forklift and drive it straight through. And I said, well, what do you mean drive it straight through? He said, drive it straight through. He said, keep going. And this thing was on fire. Well, I got the forklift and, well, he told me to, so I went flat out and I drove straight through this. Now, it destroyed everything. All the bagging units, the whole lot. And the fire flashed over and went out. It was just out. We were able just to put any small burning embers out. It was out. Finished. Done. Interesting. Very interesting. So then when we rebuilt the extraction room, we built it on the outside, and he brick built it. And then he put an asbestos roof on it. And he asked me if I knew why we was putting an asbestos roof on it, and I said, well, no, I've got no idea. He said, because asbestos explodes. I said, I know that. He looked at me, he said, well, how do you know that? I said, because as kids we used to light fires and chuck asbestos on the top because it exploded. He said, so when you get an extraction fire, it's contained within the brick walls, the asbestos roof explodes and it vents straight up and burns itself out and it doesn't spread. Why that information stuck with me, I don't know. So, many years later, in career number 2, or career number 3, I had built up a business, multi-million-pound international business from just a scrawny little rubbish it was, and I'd taken it right to the very top. I was at the pinnacle of my career, and I was working for the 1%. Anyway, as a side shoot, I had started another company that involved me launching this company. In order to launch this company, I had to go around the world to shows to launch the product and the idea and the concept and all this. And me and my brother, we'd been in Tampa doing this show. And I was just after the show had finished, we'd been doing this show, we'd been flat out for days. We'd driven from Tampa to Kissimmee, where I had a friend and we were going fishing. And I was literally, stepping onto the boat when my phone rang. And it's my wife, and she was in England. And I've answered the phone, and it's early in the morning for us, and all I can hear is sirens. That's not gone well. She said the factory's on fire. There's, whatever she said, 6 fire engines here. It's going to burn down. You need to get back. Anyway, that was the fish trip ruined. Shame, really, because we'd done really well at the show as well. So we was on this high, and then... So we had to pack our bags, go to the nearest airport, which I think was Orlando, and fly back to England. When I got back to England, it had burnt down. Yet again is an extraction fire. In that factory, I had a brick-built external extraction room with asbestos roof. And then this new clean air rule came in, and they said I had to update my extraction room and update all my bagging units. Bagging units. They're bagging units. And I had massive ones. Many. That's a toy. That's a toy. Huge extraction. And as part of this upgrade, I had fire dampers in all my tubes, the tubes that run overhead. And we'd had fires in there before, and the gates shut when they detect heat, and the fire stays in the metal tube and it goes out. All right, and you just clean out the tube, and this is how it was done. As part of this upgrade, I had to do away with these fire dampers because they caused leaks and maybe possibly dust extraction into the factory, and I had to remove the asbestos roof and put tin on it. Now, I complained. I wrote a large document to Health and Safety and our insurance company, giving them all the reasons why this new legislation was wrong. Anyway, so the asbestos roof was taken off the extraction unit and a tin roof was put on. All the old tubes that worked really well were taken out and new ones put in. and the suck was extramentally greater off of the machines. It's pouring with rain. So anyway, when I got back to England, I knew what had caused the fire. There'd been a fire in the extraction room. Now, I had men working for me. They weren't girls. These were men. When men see a fire, they rush towards it. So this fire had started in the extraction room, and all this new rule says everybody must leave the building. If I'd have been there, I'd have died putting that fire out, or tried, because it's my entire factory. I mean, just, it wasn't a small operation, is what I'm saying. Anyway, it burned down. And it burned down, right, because of the new tin roof on the extraction. So, what caused the fire? Well, we'll get to that. But the fire started in the extraction room, as many of them do. And the dust in an extraction room is explosive. Anyway, so the fire started. They come back from their lunch break, and it started over lunchtime. This is normal. Over lunchtime and just after the end of work, this is normal. And they come back, and the fire was now raging through the factory. So nobody could get to it. Right, the fire doors were closed, but the fire was raging sideways, burnt fire doors into the main factory. The reason it came into the factory is because they made me take off the asbestos roof, because asbestos is fucking dangerous somehow, and put on a tin roof. Anyway, I'd written this big document about all this. So that was us done. And to replace the machinery, we were into the millions. Then there was a meeting with the fire chief and the insurance assessor. And I was waiting for this meeting. And I had the company lawyer there and the company surveyor, and everybody was involved at the top level and on the board. And we had this meeting. So we sat down, and I had a copy of the document that I had written just 2 years previous to this. And so the insurance assessor says to me, he says, bearing in mind also, I was in the US at the time. I was on the other side of the pond. He says to me, what do you think started the fire? I says, I know what started the fire. At this point, he develops a bad attitude and folds his arms and sits back in his chair, and he says, would you like to explain to me what you think started the fire? I said, yeah, it started in the extraction room as a result of there being no fire gates on the tubes and the new extraction that I was forced to upgrade by health and safety. I said, and then when the fire started, that in itself is not a problem. I said, it couldn't vent properly because the asbestos roof had been placed for tin. And the fire chief, he's trying not to nod, but he is. He's because he knows. He deals with fires. He knows how they spread. He knows what materials are good and what materials are bad. He knows that an asbestos roof will blow up and the fire will vent north. It just does. And it goes a lot quicker than wood. So, he says, well, we found the seat of the fire. He said, and we found this metal in the seat of the fire. He says, do you want to take a wild guess at what that is? I says, I'm not going to take a wild guess. I'll tell you exactly what that is. And he's got this smug grin on his face, and he sits back in his chair again, and he said, well, what is it then? I says, it's French hand grenade shrapnel. Well, he nearly fell off his chair. So did the fire inspector. Nearly fell off their chairs. I've got an office full of people around me. He says, how on earth would you know that? I says, I'll tell you how. The last lot of wood that was going through that machine pre-fire came from the Cameroon. And the French have been running around blowing up hand grenades and mortars and bullets and everything in the Cameroon for the last 50 years. So what happens then is when you cut a tree and you put it through there, the carbide tungsten tips hit this hand grenade metal, which is in the tree. Hand grenade metal is made to glow white hot. It's designed to burn through your clothing and through your skin. That's what it's designed to do. When you hit hand grenade shrapnel, it goes up the tube white hot. In previous years, it's dropped down in the tube and it's caught the dust of light. The fire dampers have detected this and closed, shut off the oxygen to the fire goes out. No, health and safety means I've got to take all this away. This white hot hand grenade shrapnel has gone all the way through the tubes, clanking its way down, dropped into a bag of explosive dust. Now, it may have been suppressed for a while. The machines have gone off, switched off while it's gone to lunch. This has started to burn a little. As soon as it starts to burn a little, it'll burn through the dust till it gets to the plastic bag on the outside. The hole will open, the oxygen will rush in, and boom, you have yourself a flashover. That flashover is going to catch every piece of dust and shavings and any plastic and anything else alike in that room. Now that'll burn quite happily by itself, contained in that little room, until such point it burns through the fire door, because it can't burn through the roof. Can't burn through the roof because it's metal. Otherwise, it would have heated up the asbestos, that would have exploded, and the fire went straight out. Right? It doesn't affect, no. So the fire now flashes over once it gets a big rush of oxygen from the factory into the factory, and there's your fire. So he's not smoking anymore, he's not so smug. He says, and how do you know all this? I says, I know all this because I'm the world's leading expert in my field. I said, and you know all this because I wrote to you 2 years ago with a 64-page document. This one, and I slid it across the table. I says, do you have a copy of that? Right? And he wouldn't answer me, and the fire inspector says, I've read it. He says, I read every page of it. He says, and you're absolutely right. That's what happened. Right, so now everybody knows, right, I didn't catch it on fire for insurance purposes, and you would only catch something on fire for insurance purposes if you had a dud business. I had a good business. Mad. Do you know, I had a £3.5 million claim against the insurance company. I've never insured anything since, other than where it's legally necessary, like a vehicle, for example. So, where am I going with this? I have just machined some timber. That's 30 to 40% moisture. It's gone in them blue bags. Okay? The other reason for extraction room fires is the result of composting. What will happen is that will start to compost, and the compost will start to get hot, and it will get so hot it will create a fire inside that bag, or it will melt the outside of the bag, get oxygen, boom, up goes your factory. When you machine really wet wood, take those bags out, either empty them out, do whatever you have to do, right, but get them out and away from the building, and don't tie up the plastic bag and leave them in there, because they're going to compost and they're going to catch fire. So extraction room fires are two reasons: hot metal and composting. And then we get to scenario number 3. Huge warehouses full of military, doesn't just apply to military, but we'll use military because this is what it was. Canvas and cotton clothing. When they come in the big metal stillages, boxes, however you get them, and they get wet because it's rained, and you put them in a corner of the warehouse, and you forget about them for 8 months, 9 months, a year, whatever it is, they're going to compost. It's fibre. It's going to compost. It gets hot. It's going to catch fire. Now, you try explain to an insurance company how you've got no idea how a fire started right over in the corner of a building in amongst a load of clothing. They're not going to believe you, and they're not going to pay out. Things that get wet compost and they get hot, and they cause fires. So, in this particular instance, we ain't hit no metal, but we have machined wet wood. So those 2 bags, I'll take off the bagging unit, they'll go out, simply because I know what's going to happen. And then we're going to use another planer, and we're still planing the same wet wood, and that's going to go into the other bagging unit over there, and that's going to be wet, and it has to go out. No chance of a fire out there, because it is, guess what, raining. So I know a lot of the world has been hosepipe bans, drinking bans, toilet bans, this ban, that ban, the other ban, this has failed, that's failed. I could do a song about it. We've had rain. I would sing a little song, raindrops keep falling on my head. Right, have I finished that story now then? I've got to make these posts. Did I rant a little bit there? Do you know, I just don't make it. Anyway, let's just say if there was a wall and many people had to be lined up against it, I'd need a bigger wall. That's what I'm saying. Bless you. Yeah. And that's that. More rain. You know, it's only going to be another week or two and you'll start seeing the yellow leaves. In fact, I can see one on that tree over there. I don't even know if the camera can pick it up. I'm in a rush. I'm in such a mad rush. So where are we now? I don't even know what date it is. I think it's the first week of August. So I'm on my countdown now. I've got 7 weeks before it's back on the ground. Is it August, September? 4, 8. Anyway, not a lot. We're already in single digits overnight some nights. But, now where was we? Cup of coffee. And that's going to go for composting. Feels dry because that's the bottom of the bag, probably what was in it. But if you put your hand in the middle, I wish I had a thermometer. Anyway, it's wet, is what I'm saying. Let's go for composting. Yeah, it's a bit of a dusty environment, inherently a wood shop, metal shop, construction site is a dangerous place. There's trip hazards, there's things that should be like this and should be like that and should be like the other. That's not how the world works in practice. Do I need any health and safety in this shop? No. Do I need any insurance in this shop? No. Because I don't employ anybody, I'm not responsible for anybody. And here's a fact that you should know about before you all start. Insurance. If it didn't make massive profits, you wouldn't have it. Right, that's my posts. I've got to go and install those. We can't show that, unfortunately. We can't even take a video. We can't take the camera there. Well, that's it for now. That's those machined up. Sorry I've been away for so long. I was kind of just got busy and involved, and I've got to hold my camera with my hand again. You know, kind of might have lost it there for a little while, but I'm back, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much. Bye for now.